the ability to identify threats and flag follow-ups needed and detect unsubscribes. We actually have this in beta now. We're using AI to look at sentiment analysis to identify if we've got positive or negative and when you need to take action on it. All right, well, so since this is all about AI here, I thought it would be good to actually introduce you to AI Ron. That's my AI version of my headshot. And I actually did that part of the presentation on the plane. That's part of the AI piece. So, I got a clicker, that's right. First shot. There we go. So I'm going to do just a little brief intro about Powered by Text. Really, our core belief is that when there's unlimited potential for good when people are connected. I think you'll see that through this use case that I'm presenting here. And it's really, we live out in our purpose, which is we exist to cultivate connections that create infinite impact. A few of the organizations that we work with, we are fully focused on mission-based org. So churches, nonprofits, broadcast media, ministry nonprofits, and Christian-based higher ed. Just a few of the churches that we work with, there's some rather large organizations there and small ones. We just couldn't fit them all on the screen there. Some of the nonprofits we work with as well, you'll see there's alignment with many of you in the room. In fact, I think I see a few of you in the room there. And then also on the broadcast media side, this screen is getting really tight and we need more room there. We work with some great brands in the broadcast media side. And also we couldn't do any of this without the help of our partners. And there's a couple of partners that are missing from this that are actually on the roadmap. So I want to give a shout out to Avid AI, which will be coming up after me. We're in a conversation of getting that over the hump, Blackbaud. And then another one, WhatsApp. How many of you guys are familiar with WhatsApp? Well, why that's important is it's really part of our core, let's call it our North Star metric, and that's to share the gospel on every single phone, every corner of the world. And we can't do that without WhatsApp. Anyone have an idea about how much penetration WhatsApp has outside of the US? Just take a guess, throw out a number. It's 70% of the world uses WhatsApp. That's about 3.3 billion users on that. And we don't think of it that much because we don't use it here as much in the States, but that's really where we're going. And we look to have that integration here in the next quarter or so. But I'm really here to talk about a case study with one of our dear clients, Jack Graham's ministry, PowerPoint Ministries. You'll see him getting an award on Friday. And just a little bit about how we went about this case study. So I came from, I think they talked about my previous employer, Next After, and what I really learned there was how to really lean into testing to build that muscle. And so really be humble about your approach and have a hypothesis going into it, but to challenge it, right? And so our loose hypothesis for this was that if we would work with PowerPoint Ministries, and we've been working with them for probably 3 or 4 years before this summer when we really got intentional, and started to engage our strategists. And that was the hypothesis of money follows mission. And that's not mine. That actually comes from Jack Graham 30 years ago. And we use that today. We talk about it. And that's really, could we cut through the noise? When you think of the text channel, it's about 98% open rate to 20% on email. Could we focus more on ministry? So this was really hard, right? To get everyone aligned around 90% of our efforts need to be on ministry and only 10% on fundraising. That's a hard ask in the beginning, I know, because a lot of you are fundraisers and you want to get that fundraising message out there right away. And then lastly, could we build community? As some of our organizations are starting to get deplatformed, it's more important than ever to build your own community today. So with that in mind, now this is another AI slide that's super busy, so I'll just cut through what it really says. We just wanted to provide as much value as possible to the subscriber base that we had and use content that already existed, right? I know a lot of you have very small resources, small teams, but probably something you do have is a lot of content. Why aren't we repurposing that and putting it in a channel where people actually read it? And so that was one of the main things we wanted to do with this is let this ministry utilize a content that they already had and then track everything we do. So with this timeline that started back in August, we really started with, and I think it's important to note, and we've got several strategists here in the room from our team. We put strategists that are aligned with the mission. So with this particular vertical, we have a strategist that has 30 years of pastoral care. We feel that's very important to help come alongside this ministry and teach them the process so that they can do this on their own. But it started back in August with a daily devotional launch where we challenged the file. Let's do on a daily basis, can we get people to sign up for a daily devotional text from Jack? And then we called for prayer. And then you could see over the course of the next 3 to 4 months, we started layering in more content that actually already existed, all with that hypothesis of money follows mission, 90% ministry, 10% fundraising. So with that initial daily devotional, we started with 60,000 plus, I'm going to pull these up here, 60,000 plus contacts on the file. And let's see, you mind playing that? I don't know if it'll, well. Yeah,
Thank you all for joining us on our devotional journey. We've loved hearing how these devotions have been impacting you and the people in your life. Keep sharing your stories and these devotions with others who need an encouraging word from the Lord. As we continue to walk together, if you have something we can be praying about, just reply to this message with the word pray and follow the prompts so we can be praying for you.
That's great. You can close that one. You don't have to play the next one. Hey, give it up to our AV guy that just does stuff on the fly. Thank you very much for that. Unfortunately, you're going to have to do it a few more times, it looks like. So this, when we called for that prayer response, this is incredible. 1,700 plus responses. And when I read some of these, it makes you just want to weep almost, some of the responses that we were getting. But, and this is where the AI part comes in. So we actually use, and this is beta feature, but that's because I used AI to build this and it didn't listen to me, or maybe I just didn't do a good job. But we actually took all of those responses, ran them through Gemini so that we could take actionable insights and actually share this with the pastor right before he gets up and does some recordings. It's getting harder and harder to get access to pastor because his time is limited. And so the more we could encourage him with encouraging words about what his flock is saying, and we do this right before he actually goes into a recording. Are you able to click the little picture on the green button there to actually hear from Jack himself? Almost there. Oh, looks like you need access. Fail. Anyway, that's on me. Well, in Jack's words, so now I can just tell you anything that he says, right? But actually, he was so encouraged by the words that he was getting from his congregants, and he's going through this motion of recording all these videos, and to hear that, he was touched by the responses that he was getting because he's used to preaching to his audience, but he doesn't always get that feedback, right? So to be able to get that immediate feedback got him really amped about continuing this. So I'm going to move on. So you'll see we've got several other devotional series that we launched on a monthly basis, and each one of those repurposed content that already existed. This does not cause us to have to go out and create a bunch of content. They had 30 years of great content sitting on the shelf. We just helped them package it up in a smaller, bite-sized format and get people to subscribe to it. And so what happened over that period, 13,000 out of that 60,000 file started to get into these devotional segments. That's engaging an audience that had been a little bit more lackluster. So that's over 20-something% of the audience actually are continuing to get more and more engaged. And each time we put them in a new group, it's a new time to minister to them and potentially ask them for a gift later. This is probably the most impressive slide from their team that I saw. These percentages are crazy. It doesn't even make sense. But what you see, that flat line was through about August of last year. That was the views that were played for the content that they had in their Subsplash page. So it existed. They were averaging around 4,000 views a month on that content. The only thing they did different during this entire time period was to deliver it via text. Once they delivered via text, they were getting, close to 70,000 or more views a month, and it's climbing. That actually stopped in November. It went up even more in December. But now that's taking content they already have, repurposing resources they have, and people actually read it because 98% of people actually open their text. So we pulled this right after Giving Tuesday timeframe. We raised their average donation. It went from around $80-ish to around $202 via text. And we activated 89 new donors. That's probably their favorite stat because what's the hardest gift to get? It's that first one. The next hardest is the second one, right? So we get to put them in now a cultivation track with 89 new people that have seen the impact and are now giving to the ministry. And then this 1,000+% increase in money raised by text. Really, they weren't doing much in text before. Now they are. They're getting money, right? That's the important part. Oh, but I skipped this part. That file grew to 76,000, right? This wasn't new acquisition. This wasn't paid acquisition. This is them sharing the gospel, sharing what they were hearing. And that's a 27% increase on an organic file. Wouldn't you all like to see something like that? That's the power of text and ease and less friction. So this one actually is a beta feature that's using AI. That through this, we found that there's challenges when you get about 1,700 replies in a quick format, right? There's only so much time to read that. Thankfully, they've got a whole team of prayer warriors that actually pray over all those and give responses. But for the pastor, the ability to identify threats and flag follow-ups needed and detect unsubscribes, we actually have this in beta now. We're using AI to look at sentiment analysis to identify if we've got positive or negative and when you need to take action on it. So this will show you, hey, I'm thinking of doing self-harm or something like that. You don't want that stuff to go lost, right? This also helps you cleanse your file, so we're better stewards of your resources so that you aren't continuing to send to people that really want off your list, but they aren't using the right words to get off, right? We identify that, and we want to take those and cleanse them. So we've got, this is an example. You can text wisdom to 59789. You can be put into that and see an example of one of these monthly devotionals if you want to see for yourself. The other one that I've got queued up that I think you'll have to play is it's actually a video that drops tomorrow, I believe, on Facebook. So I was talking to someone earlier. They said, well, how do you actually activate new donors? And I thought, so we pivoted. Sorry, I threw you a curveball. We could throw it up there. This is an ad that's running on Facebook to get them, to get new subscribers.
Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It is finished.
Join Pastor Jack Graham on a daily devotional walk toward the cross. Text CROSS to 59789. We hope you'll join us on the last 7 words from the cross. And if you're new to texting, I want to invite you right now to simply get out your phone and you're going to start a new text conversation and you're going to type in a short code. Our number is 59789. So simply type in 59789 and then in the text portion, all you need to do is type the word cross. And now you hit send. And just like that, a welcome video comes in. So this is going to be a great time for you to stay connected in this journey. And we are so glad that you're going to be walking it with us.
That's a great example of how you teach those. That you would think that everyone knows how to do texting, but I'll admit the first time I did short code texting, I didn't know how to do it. And I've watched personally when I've told people how to do this, how challenging it can be. And think about some of your older audiences. I will tell you, they're not immune to texting. Maybe this way is a little different, but once they do it once, they're hooked. And you can see by the numbers how effective it can be. So you're welcome to text. If you want a copy of these slides, you can text the word Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, Aaron, to 77007. And I've got a link in there that'll give you access to those slides. So thank you for your time today. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Thank you.